If you're looking to have full control over your lights in composite, you need to start using the LPE tag. Hey guys, welcome back. This is George, Houdini artist and motion designer. And in this video, I'm going to be taking a look at how to use the LPE tag and how you can use that to split up your lighting passes and be able to have full control over that in your composite. All right, let's take a look. What I have here is the Kit Bash kit that is the Cyberpunk interiors. It's a really awesome way that they set it up because they made it really easy for us and just put it in a USD file with all the shaders and everything. So I just brought that in. I got my camera, and inside the camera, I went up to the Karma tab and I created a lens material, and it creates this node automatically. And when you go into the settings here on the tab lens distortion, you just got to click here and set to create, and I put it on polar orthographic to get like a kind of fisheye lens effect. And the type of curvature is just quadratic. And the way you see that is you can't really see it in the viewport. You have to just, launch Karma CPU or Karma XPU to see the effects. And you could always do the same effect, just render it a little bit wider, and then you could use like a chromatic displacement or something that distorts it in that kind of way. You don't need to actually render that in 3D. You could do it in composite, but I'm just doing it for fun. All right, so here we have our scene with nothing. It's pretty much just our regular flat shaded materials. And right here, I added something new that's in Houdini 21. It's a portal light. You can see how that light works in one of Inside the Mind's tutorials. You could find that video, how he uses the portal light. Let's go here. So I got the portal light that's going to be coming out through this side, through the window, and shining into the actual scene. So these portal lights are really good for like closed interiors. You could do it in an open interior, but usually you want to use it like coming through a window or something, through a door, something like that, or a hallway. So this is kind of that basic light, how that looks here. Then I got another light here that's kind of just pushing some blue all throughout our scene. And then I got one here that's kind of like a red light that's shining almost like if it was shining from this monitor. Maybe not, we can change it later. And then I have a distant light here that's just kind of casting a shadow of the window and the objects in front of it. And right here is the LPE tag. So if we start from scratch and we put in, let's just delete this as well. We'll put in the LPE tag. Perfect. We drag that in, and you'll see that we'll have all of our lights being populated here in the left column. So what we do is just put in the light name, or we can use the light index. So it just uses increment numbers. We could use the light type, and then it increments up. So I'll just put light name. So it's pretty much what we name it here. That's what it's going to be. And this is what's going to separate into different AOVs. And for that, we need a Karma render settings node. And now in our Karma render settings node, we're going to go to the tab image output, AOVs render Vars. And you're going to see that almost every single pass has the split per LPE tag. So as soon as we do that, it's going to separate our light passes separately, and we're going to be able to tweak our lights separate and render them for final composite. So if we turn that on and we look through our actual Karma render settings, you can see here in the render outputs that we now see the new passes. I already had added the emission and have some depth in there. So if we look at the first one's the distant light, and we could see that now this is what is happening with that light. So we can go ahead and maybe start messing around with the light. Maybe we needed to change the color to more blue or green, whatever you want. I think this is a really good way to be able to tweak your lights separately as well, not only for AOVs and compositing, but it's really good to maybe just look at a certain light at a time. That way, when you do the final render, you know exactly what you're getting. All right, so let's take a look at a different light. The dome light's not going to be working because that one is actually tied to the portal light. If we were to, let's remove this right now. So like if we were to remove these two and add a dome light 2, we'll look through here and we'll see our dome light 2 and we'll actually see it working. But it's not working the moment we add in the portal lights, which is right here in the portal parameter there. So we'll delete that there. So don't worry about the dome light. That's not going to be working, but it's okay. And we'll just go into the portal light and we could see what that does. So this is what that portal light is doing. It's pretty much just shining a more direct light through a source in a way of how a dome light works. All right, and then we'll go into light 2, and you can see light 2 is the one that I was talking about that's a little bit red on this side. And check out light 1, which is our main fill. And this is just the fill for the main scene there. So here I have emission, and that's pretty much it. And then I have depth pass right here and color. All right, and I'll just name this Cyberpunk Interior, and this is how it's going to look on just the beauty pass. Another thing we can do is add a different dome light. Let's just put dark, and let's look at our dark, and let's do, instead of white, we can do like a blue. You know what? Let's do like an area light. Let's do similar to, is it light 1? Yeah, so let's do one similar to light 1. Oops, I accidentally clicked on the wrong thing here. Let's do light 3. We'll put dark on this one, or dark, dark, and then I'll lower the intensity here. Maybe it's white, and then maybe we are changing the size of it as well. What if we make it really big like this? Let's see. So maybe we have a light like this as well. Okay. And we're ready to render this out. So I just added a USD render ROP, connected that, put a Karma CPU, and our render settings are here. We'll switch to Karma CPU, switch it to, let's do 1080p, and I'll do, let's do 512. And there's an option. I mean, we can do also NVIDIA optics if we wanted. Let's leave it without for now. And let's see what else. I think we're good to go. So let's render this out. Let's just hit render and wait for the render to finish. All right, so our render took 9 minutes and 42 seconds. And I think the settings of 512 was a bit overkill for this. And just to let you know, these passes are quite heavy just because we have all these layers in there. Right now I rendered this at 1080p and it's 64 megabytes on an EXR. Okay, so we're taking a look at it here. And it seems like it's still kind of grainy. There's still some, I think it's the portal light that's causing that. So I went back and I actually rendered it at 4K and I changed a few of the actual settings here in the passes. I went ahead and added a few more, some emissions and Cryptomatte. And then inside the image output, under filters, I added the denoiser and I added it to some of the lights that were causing some of those grainy low sample renders. So these are the ones where I've added it to. So if we go into After Effects, we can go ahead and bring in our EXR, and you can see we have everything there. And we'll go and add, we'll select our EXR, go to File, create Pro EXR layers from comps, and that kind of sets it all up for us. And we'll get a assembled file here. And then I'll select all these. Let's get them different colors with our layer shifter. Okay. And right now it's the RGB. We don't really need that one right now. We don't need depth on this one either, and none of these Cryptomattes either. So I'll just hide them. All right, so now we have what we want visible. And then we'll just grab all of these lights and put them in screen mode. And now we have the render there. So if we take a look at the original, drop it on top, we could see that it's pretty similar. There's just some minute differences. And what's actually happening is we are saving a little bit of data here and there. So if you take a look at this pillow here, you see how it's burning out. And then if I turn off that beauty pass that has all the layers in one, now we don't get that burnout right there. So that's nice to have. So we can start taking a look at our layers. We got this one here that's a little darker. We got the distant light, some emission. This is the combined emission. We got a fill light there, that angle light there on the side. This is the portal light, just pure emission, and then indirect emission. All right, so if we want to just take a look at a few of these, we just turn these two on, and you could see that it's already a different feel on its own. And so what I'm gonna do is save this, and now I'm gonna just work on a little bit of color correction. So I can just get a color balance and just start kind of messing with some of these sliders into something that I think looks good. I don't know, maybe something like that. And we'll bring in the distant light. And now we can see how that looks. I can add a hue. Let's make sure this fits to 100. And you can kind of change the light. This is like super drastic, but you see what I'm talking about. These are kind of things that if you would have rendered it like all in the beauty pass, you had no control over. So we'll just leave it like that. I think that's okay. And then we'll get in. This is like a fill light. We could do something similar to that one. We'll color correct that. Let's turn this off real quick. So you could see how just turning it on and off kind of changes the look and feel already. It's like if the light was turned off. And something we can do too is we can add animation on the opacity, and it looks like maybe it's a light that's flickering. We'll do a wiggle, 40, 80. Whoops. And let that go. That might be too drastic, but let's see, 4. So yeah, those are the kind of things you can do. You could probably do an effect, maybe like if there's a storm and the lightning hits, like you could just render that light that gets that lightning bolt kind of lighting, and then you animate that pass, you know, how you see fit in composite instead of burning it into the actual beauty pass. All right, so then we have emission here, indirect emission, and what's cool about that is I could just duplicate that and give it like even more bounce light. So if we're to turn this off and this one, you can get a whole different feel right there. This is like a dark, you know, nighttime vibe. Added some light in here, and you could change the feel of it like really quickly just by having all these different looks for the lights. So same here, I can even add the same wiggle, or maybe a little bit different. We'll change some of that, some of the parameters here on the numbers. Put 4 on here. Let's do 20. So yeah, and then we can just kind of experiment and see what we like. I kind of like the dark, you know, maybe in between here. And I could just kind of lower the, so because we have brightness here, another thing we can do is just put, instead we could do a opacity random flash. Let's see. So then we can just remove it from here. And then I could just lower the brightness to maybe 50%. And then some of the things I do usually is I'll add like chromatic aberration and some noise into the image. Just to, the noise is really to kind of blend it in a little bit better. Anything that would be banding, the noise actually helps out a little bit. This might be too much. There's other plugins out there you can use from Red Giant that are pretty good. But I just use the basic one. And then before the noise, I'll add my displacement here. And I could just kind of split the RGBs. Yeah, we could do all sorts of stuff there. Anyways, I'll just remove it. Another thing we can do is just to add a little bit more interest, we could parent all of these to a null. And in the position, I can add that same wiggle. We'll put like 2 and 5. And we're going to need to scale it up just a little bit. So there's like a little bit of movement. And if we wanted to use, let's unhide the shy layers and then bring in the depth of field. We can get the depth of field and put it on screen as well. Let me see. Let's go inside the here in the depth of field and change the white point to 10. Now we can see it a little bit better, or you could put like 100, something like that, and we'll go back to our assembled scene. Now we got some of that haze going on. So or that fog. And then I could add on top of that a levels to just crush it a little bit so it's not like everywhere. And then you could get a tint, or yeah, you could get like a tint would be good. And maybe it's a blue tone, or it's red tone. And you can start crushing it to bring in more or less of that haze. All right, and then the other thing you can do would be to use the Cryptomatte. So in the Cryptomatte, I don't like the way that the plugin does it, the Pro EXR. So we'll just delete all of these here. And instead we'll just drag in that original. Look at the difference already. Like that's a crazy difference. From like the beauty pass to this. So we'll just add in a Cryptomatte. And maybe we want the light from outside. I'm not sure. Maybe we want this light, and then we'll put alpha, RGB, and oh, that needs to go under. Oh, and by the way, we have our animation here. So let's link that into that. And let's make sure that we have the same positions here. So let's do 0, 0, and 0. Oh, whoops. We did the wrong thing here. Let's parent to the null. Okay. And now we can do position 0, 0, and 0. Oh, and the scaling as well. Let's make sure it's 100 on scale. So now we can bring in that light. We'll go back into the alpha here. And then I can add a glow. And that might be too much, so we can do 0.5. But yeah, this is the final piece. And I think you have a lot of flexibility when it comes to using the LPE tags and being able to render all these lights in different passes. It just takes your composites to the next level. Thank you guys. And if you found this video useful, hit the like button. And if you don't want to miss out on the next video, subscribe. And I'll see you guys on the next video.